Shapeshifting. It has been something that has stuck with us since the beginning of humanity. We have attributed the ability to change forms from human to animal, from one animal to another, to ourselves, to our deities, to try to explain our places in the world, or to affect the world in different ways that we cannot quite do in human form. Shapeshifting, every culture of indigenous people across the world have some type of a shapeshifting legend. The kitsune are a shapeshifting trickster or guardian spirit, typically in fox form. They serve the Shinto god Inari. There are more trickster deities in the Japanese religions and views, but I cannot really speak to them or how Japanese practitioners may practice their shapeshifting. But knowing that that is a touch point for a culture clear on the other side of the world from where I reside currently, they are by far not the only culture that has a shapeshifting spirit. The Armenian people have a river spirit called the Nang, and it is known to take the form of an otter or a woman. A lot of cultures, their shapeshifting spirits have the woman or otter form. Then we get into Africa. The trickster spider god Anansi from Ghana, the known trickster and teacher, known for outsmarting opponents several times larger than he is. Anansi is something and someone that is known even outside of the circles of practitioners of the African spiritualities. Polynesia has a demigod that a lot of us may already be able to guess at. Maui. Not just Moana's sidekick, but truly and actually based on mythology. Maui can change form, and he was a demigod that stole fire from the giant Muafataya. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but the giant held fire in his cave. Before this time, the Polynesian people were not able to cook their meats, not really getting all the nutrients from their food that they could. So Maui was exploring with his father after deciding to follow him one day. Maui's father was a servant of Muafataya, and he enters the giant's cave and he notices fire. He was very curious as to what it did and why it was held so sacred. So he tries some of the food that was very obviously different than what he'd known and what he'd seen, and realizes the difference. Like, he knew it was pork or beef, but knew it tasted better. So, seeing what it had done, tasting what it had done, he stole fire and gave it to humanity. The indigenous peoples of North America, most every tribe had a skinwalking legend, or a shapeshifting legend. The Native Americans called their shapeshifter, or the Navajo called their shapeshifters skinwalkers. So we hear that term nowadays and we think cryptid or malevolent creature. Not always. It was just somebody that was able to change form, either by going through ritual and learning the skill, or being naturally gifted. The Deer Woman of the Creek, Powhatan, Tatami, and Omaha tribes is another well-known mythology and shapeshifting spirit. Deer Woman had two sides. She could be gentle and caring, helping women conceive, or she could be malevolent, trampling young girl crazy men and disobedient children. Which I can definitely understand, especially, well, on both counts. Guys are kind of nutty, and disobedient children, well, sometimes you just kind of have enough of their shit. A common form of shapeshifting throughout media and throughout history is lycanthropy. Lycanthropy is usually the result of some type of a curse being cast on the victim, cursing them to take the form of a wolf certain times of the month, certain times of the year, or under certain triggering conditions. A famous type of lichen, at least in North America, is the Rougarou, the werewolf of the Louisiana swamps. The Rougarou is tied to the prevailing Catholicism of French Louisiana, and it is something that you have several chances to avoid. Say you're a practicing Catholic in the mid to late 1700s, and you just decide for whatever reason you're just not going to observe Lent. You're going to celebrate all through Mardi Gras, not observe Mardi Gras in the fasting period after. Do this for 7 years and you can be turned into a Rougarou. But every year in that intervening 7-year period of lapsed practice, you are going to be confronted. And on that 7th year, the curse will hit and you will become a Rougarou. You have the opportunity to avoid this curse, or to pass it on and be cured, as long as you return to Lenten observance. Now, this one had a somewhat limited time period. It's typically only through the Lenten season that you would fall victim to this curse. So, being pagan, I don't know if being a werewolf for about 40 nights a year is all that bad. It'd be kind of fun to be running through the swamps, howling at the moon, scaring random passerby, don't you think? And this brings me to Western Europe, an area that I have a lot more knowledge of, a lot more myth to pull on. The story of Caradwyn and Gwion is one that is very well known. The goddess Caradwyn had a son named Agbethi, or Agvedel. I know I'm not pronouncing it right. It's Welsh, and Welsh is kind of a difficult language. Anyway, her son was hideous to look upon. Nobody could stand looking at him for more than a few seconds. So, knowing this about her child, she set about creating a potion to give him the knowledge of all things. To do this, it needed to be stirred continuously for a long span of time. I think it was a year and a day, maybe longer, maybe less. So she picks an orphan boy up from one of the villages in the hills. This boy's name was Gwion, and she set him to stirring. And he stirred and stirred, continuously attending to the cauldron over the fire. Stirring day after day, night after night. The potion finally reaches its done. The potion finally reaches its done, completed state. And Gwion goes to pull this potion off the fire. It's hot, and it burns him. And it causes him to slosh the potion just a little bit. And some of it lands on his thumb. As you do, you don't think about it when you get something on your finger and it hurts, it burns. You put it to your mouth. You suck on it for a moment, or you blow on it. Gwion decided to suck on the burn to try to cool it. In doing so, he tastes the potion. He gets the knowledge of all things, all skills, which means the potion is now useless for Agathy, or Agvidu. And he hears Caradwin coming. She is aware of what has happened. So he shapeshifts into a different form. He turns into a piece of wheat, a grain of wheat, falls to the ground, and Caradwin shifts into that of a chicken and starts pecking the ground for him. He then shapeshifts into a bird, and she shifts into something bigger. He's flying, trying to get away, and then he goes into the waters. He becomes a salmon. She changes form and gives chase, but he gets away. Gwion escapes and starts to live a life and gains renown. He, through his deeds, becomes known as Taliesin, Shining Brow, Wise One. And he goes down in mythology as one of the greatest bards that ever lived. The Irish Celts have their own shape-shifting deity story. The Great Morrigan. She of many names, many forms, many guises. She has known shifts of the wolf, the cow, the eagle, the crow, the crone. And in Western Europe, this brings me to the Norse pantheon and the Norse gods. There are several shapeshifters known within Norse practice. One of the biggest, of course, is Loki. He who has taken many forms. It was Loki that achieved getting Odin his eight-legged horse Sleipnir. The story behind this is very interesting and puts a lot of things into perspective when you sit and think about the myths. The gods of Asgard, the Aesir, are talking about building protective walls for their city. And they don't know how they're going to be able to do it. In time, a giant shows up and he said, if I can get this done within a certain amount of time, a year, you will give me the hand of the goddess Freya, the greatest gift anyone could ever take. So they agree to this, and the Aesir didn't ever have an intention of honoring this, I don't think. So anyway, he starts doing the work. The walls start going up at a gangbusters pace. Just several feet in a day, and it's just this giant and his horse. The walls are nearing completion over time, and the Asir are like, oh no, we gotta do something to stop this or to slow his progress, or he's gonna get to marry Freya and take her away. We don't want that to happen. So Loki's like, I got this. I figured out why and how he's doing everything so fast. So Loki shapeshifts into the form of a mare. And being playful, Mare Loki distracts the giant's horse. They go run through the fields together. They come back a few months later, and there's a foal coming back with the mare. That foal has 8 legs, an incredible speed. That foal is Sleipnir. And of course, that mare was Loki. So, the Norse god Loki, he, in his shapeshifted form, gave birth. So Loki is a mother. He's taken other forms as well, that of a stinging wasp. Loki is known for his shapeshifting, but he is by far not the only Norse god known for it. Thor, Heimdall, Odin. Odin has so many different names and so many different forms. It's a video in and of itself. And I may do that video someday. But that's not today. Another goddess that is known for their shapeshifting is Freya. Now she has an artifact that helped her with her shapeshifting. A cloak made of the feathers of a falcon. A lot of shapeshifting work that we as human beings do relies on energy signatures or talismans. Some people will have like a necklace pendant or a charm that they will wear if they want to shift into something. We will wear jewelry to help us tap into energies. This is not an actual wolf's claw, but it is a metal facsimile of one. Though it would be awesome to get actual claws or teeth, but it can be used to aid in shape-shifting. Freya's feathered cloak would enable her to take the form of a falcon and fly across the realm, fly into other realms, and it is something that we mimicked as we learned how to interact with spirit realms, to travel in spirit form. We wanted to see more, to feel more, so we started trying to shift into other forms. Wolf, bear, falcon, fish, eagle. The Norse warriors, the Berserker and the Ulfheimr, the bearskins and the wolves of Odin. 2 famous warriors. They wore bear pelts or wolf skins, wolf pelts, into battle. Their frenzy and ferocity is legendary. This may have been helped with illicit substances, but they thought by wearing the cloaks made of bear skin or wolf skin, they could channel the ferocious nature of said animal. And the bears, stout, strong, fierce. If you've ever seen anything that size angry in nature, it is a scary, scary thing. I've been lucky to not see that. But wolves, yeah. They have their own ferocity and strength. My dog's a German Shepherd, something a little bit closer to the wolf, but not really. And she's got some crazy freaking teeth on her. Crazy bite strength. So imagine a 6 foot tall group of guys just nearly frothing at the mouth, holding axes, spears, hay rakes, and charging at you. You're not going to be confident. You're going to be kind of shaken in your shields. Human practitioners would, from the beginning of our questioning why, how, and where as a species, we would try to utilize animal material, skins, claws, teeth, other skeletal remains to shift our perspective, shift our form, to explore other realms. Every culture across the globe has medicine men, shamans, seers, vulvas, viki, and others that would take the skins of animals, enter a trance state, either drug-aided or not, and explore either this realm of Earth or go into the upper world or underworld. It was believed that certain skins led to easier upper world travel and certain skins led to easier lower world travel. Birds, of course, aided in seeing the upper world. Lower world would be holding parts of like snakeskin or moleskin or sometimes even fox pelts because they burrow, rabbit skins. It's just the time and energy, the connection you can make with the spirit of said creature to do your shifting. There's stories all throughout history and anecdotal tales. The Norse sagas, this kind of shapeshifting work is all over the place. Sometimes this would be referred to as going under the cloak, going into a secluded space. Usually you would have the skin of an animal with you. Sometimes it may have been the deer, the bear, the wolf, some other animal you had a bond to or a sacred connection to through a deity. And you would sit in thought and sit and wait in connection and waiting to hear some message from the gods or to have a flash of insight. In modern practice, those that practice shapeshifting will use shapeshifting to explore this world and the other astral realms. There are shiftings that enable that as well. Like the owl is an upper world shift. You can take the form of an owl and go into the astral dimensions. The griffin, the Pegasus, the phoenix, the dragon. There are several ways to do it, and each are going to be about as unique as the practitioner that decides to try. It takes some practice to be able to do. I myself am a shapeshifter. I shift form into the bear, the wolf. I've shifted into the owl a few times. I've shifted into a griffin. But I have another form that I use to do work. I use them to explore. I sometimes will shift into a form and just run with my energy, exploring the forests, the cities, and the spaces from here to other points on the planet. I have shifted form to check on family and friends, to travel from down here in Florida to Kentucky, to Ohio, to California, Pennsylvania, even, and a few times across oceans. When you're in a form such as that, time and space does not really matter. The way I do it is I will sit there and I will enter a trance state or a state of profound calm and just connect. Dig my energy down into the earth. Connect to that energetic current that just constantly flows through this planet and reach up energetically, connecting to that central access point, to the heart of the void or the star, just whatever you really feel like grabbing into at that point in time. Then I will hold the image of the animal in mind I want to shift into, and I will work to take that form. Sometimes when people are shapeshifting, it'll be obvious. Somebody's appearance will take on a more wolf-like facial set, or their posture will change. Some people may even kind of pick up the demeanor of the creature they're shifted into, growling, maybe a bit more of a rumble in their chest, just an aggression, depending on what they're doing, what their intention is. Shapeshifting is a tool used for exploration. I myself have used it to enter the astral, to explore the different dimensions, different worlds up there. There's some interesting stuff, and you can go to the same place several times in the same form or in different forms, and you may get the same experiences in one form, then you go back in a shifted form and it's something completely different. It's just the time and the repetition. To reach shapeshifting these days, a lot of people will put on some music, something just instrumental, something that helps you connect to that inner primal being, that inner hidden flame that connects us all the way back to the beginning of humanity, back to nature. And they'll sit there and work to find the form that they have the closest affinity to. Sometimes it will be a spirit animal or a Faya, which is a Norse spirit animal guide. And you just sit there and make a relationship with that animal, that form, and eventually you'll be able to take it on. Shape-shifting practices are many and varied, has many different uses, many different methods, and it's something that's worth exploring. You may learn all kinds of information as you shift and explore. As magical practitioners, it's something worth trying. It's always worth trying to learn more, to do more, to see more. We're magicians to kind of have a little bit of control or a say in the fates of ourselves and the people around us. To learn as much as I can. To help everyone around me as much as I can. That's why I do what I do, and shapeshifting can be a very vital tool. I know some of you have seen the form I didn't really touch on. The dragon form. It's probably my favorite one to go to. And that connection to him and the dragon spirits is profound. Maybe you'll find a spirit, a shifting form that feels the best to you. Just work on meditation and then reach for that spirit within you, or to connect to that archetype. and maybe you'll be able to shift as well. It's shapeshifting has been around and part of magical practitioners' toolkit for a very long time. Does anybody out there, how do you utilize shapeshifting in your day-to-day practice? Is it something that you're well versed in, or something that you're curious about, or does it scare you? Leave your comment down below. Until next time, stay safe and stay daring, my friends.